Well, greetings, Pastor Eric here from Zion Lutheran Church in beautiful Redmond. We are on day 27. We're on the seventh I am statement of Jesus coming to us from John chapter 15, 1 through 11. And this is the last I am. Tomorrow we're going to talk about Jesus washing the feet of the disciples in the upper room discourse, the time when Jesus spent with the disciples before he went to the cross. An incredible chapter. So we are in John 15, 1 through 11. I won't read that, but if you can read it, that would be great. Jesus says, I am the true vine and my Father is the vine grower. And then he goes on about abiding in him. And one of the interesting things that we've talked about in the Gospel of John is that Jesus uses everyday thing to bring us amazing truths. Jesus uses stuff that's all around them as a springboard for teaching eternal truths. He kind of has this methodology of looking at everyday ordinary events to see the extraordinary love and grace of God. Not just seeing a beautiful sunset behind the mountains and feeling spiritually happy, but instead seeing God in every moment of life. It is seeing God in the puddles in the rain, in traffic jams and roundabouts, at dinner parties and at bedtime, and the shower, on the treadmill, whatever it is, to see God's love and grace in those everyday events. So John 15, 1 through 11, Jesus talks about, I am the true vine. Talking about Jesus saying, I am the way and the truth and the life. He's talking about ways in which you can see the extraordinary in the ordinary day events and moments of life. The symbol of the vineyard is a word picture which was very important to the disciples of Jesus. For one thing, grapes were central to Israel's economy for wine and for oil. The climate of Israel was very healthy for growing good grapes. And the vineyard or the grapevine had always been a symbol of the nation of Israel. In fact, the symbol of the grapevine was on coins that Israel used up until the time that they were conquered by the Romans. Look through the Old Testament, all kinds of examples of grapevines representing the past, present, future of Israel. So, another thing about that is that even though it represented the past, present, future of Israel, there was consistently portrayed the vine grower, the grape grower, as consistently disappointing God. In Isaiah chapter 5, the song of the unfruitful vineyard, the beloved plants a vineyard on a fertile hill, dug it and clears it of stones, and it yielded wild grapes. And so the vineyard owner, who happens to be God, decided to remove the hedge and let it be trampled down and devoured. So while the vineyard and grapes are a very positive image about the past, present, and future of Israel, it was also a symbol of their disobedience. So what Jesus says, I am the vine, you are the branches. Let me just say two things about that imagery, about Jesus being the vine and we are the branches. First of all, Jesus says, those who abide in him, he will abide in them. If you read through those verses, abiding is mentioned 5 times. Abiding, I will abide in you and you in me, just as I abide in the Father. If you were to look at newer versions, newer translations of the Bible, they don't use the word abide. Living Bible says, take care to live in me. Today's English version has remain united with me. New International Version has remain in me. Jerusalem Bible has make your home in me. The reason they do that is because abide is kind of an old, moldy, oldie word. It's not a word that we use so much, but None of those words in those other translations really capture the meaning of abide. It means more than just making your home in or keeping united. It's taking a stand with. It's being faithful to. It's being standing firm with. It's never leaving your side. Abiding is making who you are a part of the one in whom you abide, inside and out, from the very core of your being. So Jesus says, abide in me that way, and I will abide with you. And he also says, second thing he says, is abide in me, because apart from me, you can't do nothing. You can't do nothing, nada, nothing. Seems a little bit negative, and yet, on the other hand, God doesn't operate with human negative concepts like that. God doesn't operate with human capabilities. Our nothing doesn't equal God's nothing. Our God is a God who creates out of nothingness. Out of me, you can do nothing, but God can move God's Spirit over the face of the waters that was without form and void, and create. God can speak and it comes to be, we hear at the beginning of Genesis. Out of nothing came our world, our lives, our salvation. Out of nothing came our relationship with Jesus. Apart from me, you can do nothing. Meaning that if we open our nothingness to God, if we open our nothingness to God, God can take that nothingness and make it into something. When we give our lives to Jesus, our nothingness becomes God's everything. When we become grafted onto the true vine of Jesus, rather than being shriveled branches that lie lifeless on the ground, we become something that can do everything and grasp the abundant life that Jesus so wishes to give in John chapter 10, verse 10. In fact, when we give up our nothingness and open it to God's everything, we can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So think of that, how Jesus took a vine. Everywhere he went, he was trying to see the hand of God. Jesus takes bread and water and sheep and gates and vines and fish and turns them into extraordinary examples of what it means to believe in him and follow him. So it's just a perspective on this last I am. I am the vine and you are the branches. You apart from me, you can do nothing. Open your nothingness to God. See God's hand in everything, and you will grasp the meaning of abiding in the one, with the one who loves you and cares for you. I'm going to read from May 11th, from Jesus Calling. Thank me for your problems. Thank me for your problems, it begins. As soon as your mind gets snagged on a difficulty, bring it to me with thanksgiving. Then ask me to show you my way to handle a situation. The very act of thanking me releases your mind from its negative focus. As you turn your attention to me, the problem fades in significance and loses its power to trip you up. Together we can deal with the situation, either facing it head on or putting it aside for later consideration. Most of the situations that entangle your mind are not today's concerns. You have borrowed them from tomorrow. That's a pretty good statement. Let me read it again. Most of the situations that entangle your mind are not today's concern. You have borrowed them from tomorrow. In this case, I lift the problem out of today and deposit it in the future where it is veiled from your eyes. In its place, I give you my peace, which flows freely from my presence. Good word for us today. We start tomorrow in the Upper Room Discourse, chapter 13 through 17 of John. I look forward to seeing you then on Wednesday. Talk to you then. Bye-bye.